Aloha. Um, Yesterday, I went and saw the new Jason Bourne movie. Go see what kind of program is going on out there. And I just wanted to do a video, start off on that, and then kind of go into whatever other little clips I have saved and kind of related to that stream of thought, because it is a very definite program that they had in there. It's obvious that I observed when I came out of there. It's relating to how the movies interact in our reality as a whole, how this whole thing is a program. All of your so-called entertainment, the mainstream media, the university system, everything is a program, a coding, a static energy, a cloud, a literal distraction from your maximum potential. Even your space of presence, to be quiet for a while, to be silent, to be in a space of not busy mentalities. We're surrounded by Wi-Fi signals, cell phone towers, cars, sirens, airplanes, appliances, apartment complexes that are like loud, and people and loud music. Everything is loud. It's busy. We live in a very busy mentality, and we live this way from childhood all the way up to, it's kind of like getting used to something. Like you get used to the sound of the refrigerator, you get used to the sound of whatever it is, you get used to it. We're such resilient beings that we can get used to a lot of things, and that's kind of like the energy that gets played off by the mainstream media. The whole control grid itself is that you get desensitized, you get dehumanized, and in that lack of sensitivity, you have a lack of empathy, you have an amplification of apathy, you have a lack of compassion, you have a lack of focus, a lack of willpower, a lack of desire, a lack of overall connection to nature, yourself, the Most High, and your reality as a whole. When you have a desensitization program running 24/7, and having individuals have access to that program and be needing that program through technology, through the smartphones, through all that stuff, being addicted to that. I think that plane be going. As soon as I heard that plane all morning. Now probably do another 4 flyovers. Anyway, we get desensitized. We don't pay attention to things, so we don't see the trends. So we don't know when we're being programmed. We don't know when we're being manipulated to think a certain way, to act a certain way, to react a certain way, to get caught up in our feelings, to get caught up in our emotions, to take these artificial definitions of one version of reality, or every version of reality, and then make them our own. So at the heart of the distraction, the static grid, from the Jason Bourne perspective yesterday, to zero it in, because you can see it. It's obvious with all the movies. You can see in all these movies, like what why isn't this going? It's supposed to be going left and right. Videos. you can see how it's being weird. It's supposed to go. Anyway, it's just enough with these videos right here. You have Star Wars, everything I wanted to talk about is on here. Independence Day, Star Wars, Ghostbusters, Star Trek, Jason Bourne, Batman vs. Superman, Captain America, Civil War, Suicide Squad, and I know The Purge is on there somewhere. If this was allowed to move for whatever reason, it's not. But the timing of it all is locked into the politics. Each movie coming out is telling one big story. Overall, it's a giant distraction. I've mentioned this in a few other videos, but I'm gonna narrow it down to one specific topic in a second. But for these videos that are showing right here, when you have Independence Day and Star Wars and Star Trek, then you that's the automatic triggering of the NASA program. It builds itself up, the political scene, the power as a whole. So it's power. These labels that get triggered, and it was obvious in Jason Bourne, is power, trust. Was it power, trust, and fear? So those are main obvious things. So you have trust in NASA, extra trust when you are having all kinds of dopamine pumped into your brain from being excited from Star Trek and Star Wars, and they tell you in the year 2160 that they're going to be having actual Star Trek ships to do whatever they're doing in Star Trek. That'll be the beginning of it. That's what happened in the last Star Trek movie. You have Star Wars, which is triggering all of it's just an application of the NASA program and the good and evil program, and putting evil up there as like equivalent to the forces of allness. It's just building itself up, like trying to make it bulk itself up. This is what this whole the entire full spectrum of movies, television, government, alternative news, the mainstream media, TV shows, all of this is to put out this illusion of power, this illusion of, when you understand that the very soldiers, those are you, those people are you, your kids. So these stormtroopers and all that shit that are part of the dark side and all this other stuff, those are actual people. Those are still human beings. They haven't been completely, like, this whole program as a whole is designed to suck the life out of everybody so much. Now, you do have individuals who are all American, all this, all that, whatever they want to call themselves. They will do anything for the whatever the government tells them to do, like these soldiers. But the majority of the individuals in the military are human beings who will, at one point, at whatever point, choose humanity over their garbage ass system. That is obvious for me, and I had spent 7 years in the Army, so I can speak from experience that, and you don't even have to have experience to know that. These are 17, 18, 19-year-old kids. Like, I went in when I was 17. The majority of individuals in there are really young, and the younger generation is knowing what is going on. So these soldiers, on a deeper, especially with the internet going on, these soldiers are informed more so than they were back in the day. In like Vietnam time frame, where it was like, oh yeah, let's just go out there and go out to Vietnam and kill people for whatever reason. It didn't matter. The government was just making stuff up then, just like it's making stuff up today. But the only difference is today people are more informed. So these movies, Hollywood, television shows as a whole have to build themselves up with the illusion of power, with the illusion of trust, with the illusion of amplified fear. They got to dramatize everything and get you sucked into it. So in reference to the Jason Bourne movie, it's the basic plot. You have so I guess it will be like a little bit of a spoiler alert in here. So you have the good Jason Bourne is the good guy, and then you have the bad guys within the so-called good guy system. So like, I guess he's a CIA. And then you have the good guys within, you got the good guys and the bad guys within the CIA. That right there is what I wanted to focus on, because that is the program that is linked into the so-called real world disclosure project, that is all part of it's a psyop itself for you to keep believing in the system. So people like in the new age who are waiting for disclosure, who are waiting for the government to give them something else, to release information about the aliens, and to release information about, you know, what's really going on. That garbage is just a dream within a dream. It's just, instead of an old black and white movie, it's now like a technicolor movie, a color vision movie, and it's the same storyline. So in order to get people to believe in that, you have to believe that you have to believe in the dramatic movie version of it, the one layer. So you have to believe that there are good people. There are good people in the system. Look, in 1992, we had this group of ex-CIA and ex-military officials and ex-government Pentagon people who came out with Dr. Stephen Greer, and he's a doctor, so you got to listen to him. And they're talking about, you know, releasing alien information, and oh, I can't wait for that. Like, that's gonna be everything. Really? You still waiting on these assholes? These dark, destructive, not giving one shit about you in your own country, 9/11, everything else, still going to war, still trying to protect all these systems of control. Not to mention all the historical wars. This is just the latest one. Still, and technology, vaccines, water, all this other stuff. Chemtrails in the sky are another version of trying to bulk itself up. Like, they have power to do all this stuff. They have the power to do everything. They have the power to destroy you and all this stuff. Their power, the so-called their power only exists within the actions of the masses who give them that power. So the soldiers and the public, the population. The more informed people are, the less power that the so-called they have. And this is the real so-called fight that's going on. It's information. So you have these controlled opposition people who are literally out there calling themselves InfoWars, TYT, David Icke, David Wilcock, Dr. Stephen Greer, all these people who are out there to tell you what it is all really about. Like, this is it. This is what you need to focus on. And then you got Saturday Night Live, and all this just is one good example, because Saturday Night Live been on since the 70s. I think, yeah, late 70s. But Saturday Night Live is a good example because Saturday Night Live gives you the watered down, basic, generic ass version of what you are supposed to be thinking like. So if they want you to believe in aliens, they're going to put something about aliens. If they want you to think something about politics, they'll do this. And it's on every Saturday. It's like a cult in itself. That you just don't call it a cult. You just see little clips here and there. You laugh it into your reality. So it's actually creating your reality through humor, through comedy. And just like you have these charismatic politicians and charismatic talk show hosts and actors and actresses, you have these individuals who are constantly shifting the storyline, the dynamics of your consciousness every week, making you think about what is important, making you think a certain way about politics, making you think a certain way about whatever it is. These talk show hosts, late night talk show hosts, do the same thing. You got Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, Daily Show, all these people, whatever it is, it's a code to flicker rate your mentality. So if you can see the flicker rate of the television as like a picture book, then just slow that picture book and multiply it out towards a day. Every day you get talk show hosts. That's one page. You get one page to read every day on YouTube or on television. And that's what you believe in the story, locking you into the grid. And then you have a weekly page, which is like John Oliver is another one. Tells you like what's important, what you need to be focused on, your perspectives, what change is, how change is, whatever change is. And then you have Saturday Night Live, which is another version. And then you have everything in between. And wherever you're comfortable with, you find out who you are through seeing this reality. And then you just go to work or go hang out with your friends and then just regurgitate whatever bullshit story was put out there for you to talk about by these actors and actresses that have like given you a storyline. They give you a script. So just as easily as they read a script to act out a skit online, a prescription drug to pay for you in a sense get your own script from the entire show, your prescription, and then you take that to your friends, and then you prescribe your bullshit ass perspectives to your friends, and then they prescribe their bullshit ass perspectives of an illusion back to you, and then you just overdose each other with bullshit. Total bullshit. Total programming on every way. And why? Because we're it's funny, it's light, it's humor, it's this, it's that. And the movies just do this on a regular basis. And the flicker rate of that are the trailers. Each trailer that comes out a certain time says a certain thing. And now with the internet, you have these reviews of the trailer, Easter eggs from the trailers. Like what they say, Ghostbusters was the worst fucking movie I've ever seen in my life. This, I just had to say that. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. It was horrible. It was more just to tell a story about whatever. Like it's like this Hillary platform shit. It's just ridiculous. And I don't like what they do with Leslie. I don't know her last name. The only black lady on, so-called black lady on, on Saturday Night Live. It's these archetypes, like these there are these, like the fact that BET exists, like that's not actual melanated people culture. That is the worst programming out there. It's like when you watch, I was telling my cousin a few months ago, because he was watching these Pawn Star shows. I was like, listen to that music. Who do you think that music? Listen to the music they play in those transitions. Those doom 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 doom. That almost sound like Seinfeld, but no, it's like this rap or this kind of hip hop sort of transition music on a Pawn Star show, and then that Pawn Star show has a code to it. So it has like, here are these destructive, these violent black people who come in and they just want this and they want that. Oh, and here's this white person who comes in and they just want to sell this little fire truck that's meant for a kid who just gonna drive it around. It's made in 1950 the old American way. Oh, they are gonna get good money for that. Oh, white people are so sweet. Oh, here comes these gangsters in here with trying to sell some drills or something. Didn't they just buy those drills from us last week? Because they just gonna use these drills and want to return them back to us? No, that's just like black people trying to get over on something else. This is an actual code. It's by design. And you can listen to this music that they use on who they want to watch it. They want so-called black people to watch these shows so you can feel a certain way about yourself. Keep yourself dormant. Keep yourself thinking. And other people say, that's just like a black motherfucker. Going in here doing this shit. Oh, and then they bringing it. You never really get out of that. That whole response that you have, that's an actual energy. That's a whole thing that exists in your vibration every day of your life. And then you have this savior mentality that gets pumped into your head from the so-called white people. And it's a constant thing. This is why you have Saturday Night Live does it every week. TV shows do it every day. And movies do it throughout the year. And each layer is like a sledgehammer and a big giant nail going into your head, nailing you down into the grid. And each time you're nailed down with fear, power, trust, desensitization, anything that gets you locked into the grid. And these kids are doing it to themselves because their parents are okay with it. Their parents, in fact, enjoy it. Their parents, go out on movie night and go do this whole date night thing, and it's a constant bombardment reality. And until we start to disassemble it, we won't see how deep this program goes. So basically, I'm gonna get back on the Jason Bourne and go through the little thing that I had there. Jason Bourne. So you got you got Jason Bourne. He's the outsiders, the good guy. Then you have the bad guys in the CIA. Then towards the end of the movie, you have the good guys in the CIA. That is the program itself. They want you to trust that there are good, so-called good people within the system that are going to change the system, when in fact the system itself is the parasite. The design of the program is the parasite. But as long as you're focused on giving your power away to the so-called good people that are within the system, that takes you away from seeing the entire storyline, the bigger picture of the fact that this whole program is meant to keep you thinking and acting a certain way. So you'll just keep waiting. That's what these movies do. They keep you waiting. In the New Age community, people are waiting for the extraterrestrials and alien agenda and so the Galactic Federation of Light to come and save them. People in politics are waiting for Bernie Sanders or something like that. People in whatever kind of dynamic you place yourself in, it's externalized. If you haven't done the internal work to understand your true connections to the allness and each other and nature and your real history, your actual storyline that leads up, the human storyline that leads up, and all the various perspectives within that storyline, how it all fits together, that is a true power grid. So these movies are they're basically castles made out of sand or broken glass. And then when everything falls down, everybody gets jacked up. And it's meant to be that way. It's meant to be built up and then destroyed. Built up, then destroyed. Built up, then destroyed. It's a repeating pattern of the frequency as a whole. This is the only way it can work. So the Bourne movie is out there right now to fear you into believing that the CIA can do all this other stuff. It is doing all this stuff. There's satellite programming, globe model programming. Every single thing that you're afraid of gets amplified in all these movies. And every single thing that you want in your reality gets amplified in these movies. So the fear, the artificial version of power, and trust, that is at the essence of it. So once you believe that there are good, so-called good people within the system that are going to change the system, you're already hooked. You're locked into a limitation. You're locked into a box. You can't do anything about it. And you trust. That is an actual vibration. You trust in your slave owner. That trust creates lack of movement. And this is what this whole program is about. And you watch the movie thinking, oh, he did it again. Good job. And thank God there's good people in the system that are going to help out the good guys in the movies who are always going to win. That whole thing is in every single movie. Every movie is like that. They're telling you one story. Who's gonna win? The good guys. What do the good guys look like? They look like Jesus. They look like blonde hair, blue eyes. They look like Captain America. Never looking at your actual storyline, at the actual history. These are vibrations. And not only the individuals who are part of, everybody gets affected by this. The individuals, like for instance me, like when I walk down the street and somebody crosses the street or moves to the side just because of the way I look, like that affects me. That's fucked up. Like, and that's been happening since I was a high schooler, since I was tall enough to be like looking aggressive or whatever to people, whatever that means. It's a thing. It's really fucked up because you have people you have kids, like a 16-year-old kid who's walking down the street, just going home from school, and this is gonna happen a million times, on Monday. These kids are gonna walk down the street, and a couple who is so filled with fear and so locked into the grid and what they think about their world, they're going to cross the street because of the way somebody else looks. And that affects the individuals, the couple that's walking, but it really does affect the individual, the innocent person who would actually, more cases than not, would actually protect those individuals if they were ever in some kind of problem. That's the thing. It just gets spread all the way out. Like, we all have this human connection, and there are some individuals who will go far beyond that space to protect other people. And those people are having to deal with the bullshit of somebody else feeling a certain way because they've been programmed by television, their politics, government, to judge individuals by the way they look. That is normal in this reality. If that's normal, then what are we really doing here? This is why the police can have such a separation and just shoot people, unarmed people, be so fearful of themselves, of losing themselves, they'll just shoot somebody. Unarmed people. Like, this is a program that gets manipulated. There are storylines that are being pumped out today that are no different than the storylines that were being pumped out in 1920, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, all the way up to today. It's the same storyline. It just looks differently. And it's going to take a good amount of time for both the individuals who have to cross the street because of the way they've been programmed and the individuals who have been typecasted or labeled as whatever we're supposed to look like. There's a healing process that needs to happen. That healing process is being if that healing process, or when that healing process actually takes precedence over distraction, then that will bring down the control grid. And the distraction is the static electricity, the static vibrations are this technology, transhumanism, the new age, any kind of so-called forward progress, forward movement, Bernie, all these are distractions. Whether they want to tell you they want to distract you from the negative with Donald Trump and Hillary, or the so-called positive with Bernie Sanders, it's still a distraction because they're not looking at what's really happened here over time. Whether you want to see the timeline of the United States, or you want to see the timeline of the British colonial empire, or you want to see the timeline of whatever. None of those timepieces are being looked at. So none of that healing actually happens. You just get distracted. And then you just move on, and that's where you get this apathetic reaction of, why don't you guys just get over it? Things are changing. We have a black president now. Aren't you happy? Look at all this technology. There's so many successful people here. Don't tell me that, you don't have what I have. There's white people who are poor just like you. There's white people that are homeless. There's this and there's that. Still caught up in the color program, still caught up in that defense mechanism, desensitized, uninformed, ill-informed, uneducated, just constantly locked into a shallow version of reality. And that's why the education system exists the way it does, the globe model. And every single thing that happens in our reality has an answer by the answer givers. And then the majority of people who are locked into the grid say, oh, that's it. That's our answer. Oh, you're thinking something different? Oh, you're just crazy. You're just like a conspiracy theorist. Something's wrong with you. I'm going to have to wait until a more dignified individual says what you just said before I can look into that, because that's just crazy. That shit is ridiculous. But that's how people actually think. You don't even have your own mind. Your mind needs a stamp of approval by an individual who looks like your teachers that you grew up in the public education system. This is why you have so-called white teachers in the black community. This is why you have so-called white police officers in the so-called black communities. This is creating a psychological mindset to where even the melanated peoples don't even get to trust or believe or even look into the possibility of something else being different than what they have been programmed to believe by the control system itself. Because some individual didn't tell them that looks a certain way. This is how this does. This is what the movies are. This is what the television show, your talk show hosts. Why you have 90% of so-called white people on movies and TV shows, and that one black person, just to keep that, you got to keep that status quo alive. Got to get people like believing. This is why you have all this shit. This shit locks into your spirit. This is a locking down of the spirit. I don't like talking about this race and all this other stuff, but it's very pertinent to the storyline. Mostly because the reaction I get with people, they're just like, oh, this, you know what? That's yours. That ain't mine. I've already seen how deep this garbage goes. We live it every day. Other people are just like looking from the outside in. And we are being systematically destroyed. These are scientists who are making sure this is what the genetically modified food is. Why you have liquor stores all over the inner cities. And you have Whole Foods and health food stores in the hills, like the good cities. This is a program. People want to act like it don't exist. Until this program, they want to stay on the shallow layers, play around in the castle. This castle is built on broken glass. And people are still out there waiting and hoping for the fucking politics to come and do something for you. That is not your maximum potential. And if you think that that's just it, that's just how it's going to be, then you are hopeless. That is a hopeless vibration. The disclosure project, the distraction project with the new age agenda and all that shit, these are all toys. Crystals, Western yoga, meditation, all those shits are tools. What the hell does meditation and yoga and crystals, what the hell is all that shit gonna do for you if you are still enslaved inside your soul, in your dream state, in every other facet of reality, because you haven't looked into what is outside of that comfort grid? That's what the new age agenda is about. Keeping you comfortable, keeping you dormant, keeping you docile, locked into a love and light perspective, when your entire reality is designed to implode you. And it's doing it systematically for the people who have no other options, for the people who have to find their dinner in the liquor store, who have to walk down to the AM PM to go get dinner. This is real shit. Going down to the AM PM gas station to go get some hot dogs and some hamburgers and some 99-cent nachos or whatever. Just the most garbage ass shit. Eating your dinner from a gas station, from a liquor store, if you're lucky. This shit is poison. And it's in the design. And if you're locked into a hopeless state of being, whether it be in the politics or whether it be in the new age agenda, then you are a part of the problem. There's more work to do. We need everybody. Everybody needs everybody. And if you are distracted, however you distract yourself, whether it be on the positive tip of so-called positive tip of, being a part of the new age and all this stuff, and exploring all this other stuff, and still not making the connections to the other side, or you're in the destructive side and you're just like, oh man, I'm just gonna fuck the revolutionism, fuck everything, and there's a balance that needs to be found. And the destruction grid itself, the control grid itself, is meant to keep people on either extreme. And if you're not in that extreme, you're in a space of just ignorance, in between, floating in limbo, to be manipulated to go either way that gets flowed by the television show or whatever the system pushes next. That's the hopeless place that this mainstream media, the alternative news, social media is mainstream media. All of it is a program. They showed that social media dude in the Jason Bourne movie who's directly connected to the CIA. You have no freedom. Technology is a constraint. It's a further locking you into a lack of freedom. When they came out with microwaves back in the day, you don't think it was scientists out there? You don't think it was scientists out there that, man, what are they doing out there? You don't think it was scientists out there that was like, hey, it's something wrong with this. I don't think we should be putting microwaves in people's houses. And then other people was like, no, we need to have this shit. And who are those other people? The same assholes that are in charge of shit today. Radiating your food. Radiating your house. Radiating your kids. Look at what it does to these plants. That's your body. You are a plant. You either grow or you die. And this whole program is designed from the aspartame to the potted, to the canned foods, to the aspartame in your Cokes, where they put these machines inside your kids' schools, make them eat this food, to the microwaves in your house that are still being used today. Look at this shit. They tell you one thing and do another. And then you believe you're doing something. Sending 10 cents down to Venezuela to give Bibles to the kids down there because whatever. Or send them a glass of a bottle of water. 1 penny will give this kid a bottle of water. And then the other fucked up thing they got is they put these animal rescue shows or animal rescue drives on television right next to that, telling you it's the same thing, and like these animals and these kids in Africa are the same. That's what that subliminal messaging is. You thinking the system is good for you or something, or it's good for overall, it's helping shit. No. It's running rampant. They don't give one shit about you. Focused on your politics and all this other stuff. Shouldn't be eating this shit in the first place. I went in the store the other day, and there's a coupon section. You can even do it too. Go in the Safeway and go into the beer section and look at the coupons that they have on there. There was about 7 different coupon books that said buy a pack of beer and some meat, and it's something like, if you buy a pack of beer you get like $4 off some meat or something. It just said some shit like that, like meat. That was it. It was just meat and beer. And I know it's for the barbecue and all that other shit, but my main point is to focus on, like, this is an actual program. It's no different than them putting bacon commercials on the television every 5 seconds. They want you to eat this shit. They want you to die slowly. And in that death, they'll profit off of your birth certificate and profit off of your death certificate. Millions of illusory dollars being funneled into the system upon your life and upon your death. These are what these bonds are: your birth certificate, death certificates. And in between, you have to keep the system alive through ignorance and eating this shit. On and on and on, we allow this program to go on. hormones, turning men into women and women into men. I don't want to say men and women because the design of the program is to not even allow males to become men and females to become women, because that is not even the system anymore. You don't have any real men anymore. You don't have any real women. It's a fucking rarity to find an actual woman. It's a fucking rarity to see an actual man. Fucking lost in all this Justin Bieber, Drake, Rihanna, Beyonce clones. Everybody trying to be like somebody else. Don't never want to be themselves. Trying to be a clone of another female, trying to be a clone of another male, never understanding what it means to be a divine masculine and a divine feminine, the balance of it all, and actually inhabit the space of a real man or a real woman. Constantly living in a world that is flipped upside down and backwards, and these hormones and these foods are doing that. You got hormones in the milk, hormones in almond milk, hormones in soy milk, hormones in every single thing that you eat. If you eat meat, they're being pumped with all that stuff. Can't get away from it unless you change. Apathy, rituals, occult magic, people beating each other up, killing each other when I was in school for shoes, robbing people for shoes. I'm sure it's still happening today, but it was like a thing when the Jordans came out. It's like, oh, you got the new Jordans? You need to come up out them Jordans. It's ridiculous. Everybody want to be somebody else. And that's just one layer. Not even looking at the slave labor on the other side. That's not even part of the story. People are just totally separate from that. But this is changing. And we need to heal. If you get caught up in the shallow layers of change, the change within the destructive castle, the desensitization program castle, then you won't be able to heal, and you'll still need to exist inside that so-called hospital. You're living in a hospital, being pumped on life, on what is that called? Life something. When life support. That's what everybody exists in. If we're in the grid, on the control grid, and totally ignorant of the depths of the program and totally hopeless within our own power, totally codependent on the system, for the system, hoping that it gets better, that is life support existing inside the castle of a destructive hospital, a parasitic hospital. That's what we live in, a parasitic hospital on life support. And we need to heal from this. And the first step to healing is to understanding what actually happened, how the story fits together, who we are. I'm not talking about the Pleiades and the Orion and all this other shit. You want to look into that shit comes later. Go in order. Start with the roots of your anchoring of the energies that can interpret the stars. You have to start there first with the vessel. And then it'll make that understanding of the stars deeper. It'll make it more real. But first, we need to heal and get out of this destructive hospital. These military bases need to be shut down, closed down. The military-industrial complex, the prison-industrial complex, gets this illusory power from the fact that all that is a fear program. For these people in Saudi Arabia, Iran, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, all these countries, Syria, to have, even in like Guam and Hawaii's got like, I don't even know how many bases, but Oahu probably has something like 10 plus bases, actual bases on that little island. That's a military. You are at war. The civilians that live there, the Hawaiian people, the visitors, are at war when you're surrounded by warriors. That's a vibration that gets put out there. So this warrior mentality is the constant state of war. It's destructive. When you are going to school, when you send your kids to school, when you have no choice but to send your kids to school because you got to work, that's a state of war already. It's destructive. It's a separation from you and your children. You know it's wrong. They know it's wrong. Powerless, hopeless, and you can't do anything about it. So these kids are just going to grow up thinking they can't do anything about it. They're just going to repeat the pattern. Why? Because their grandparents and their parents couldn't change anything or couldn't do anything about it, couldn't think outside the box, too fearful, too loving the system, whatever it is that they've done. It's a repeated pattern, and it's a rarity to break that code. Because this is an indoctrination from before 5 years old. They want to get your kid earlier and earlier. Preschool, preschool, babysitters, sticking smartphones in front of these babies' faces for hours. These kids are being locked into technology. 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, they're in school. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Elementary school, junior high school, dumbing down your soul vibration, locked into the slave mentality. And there seems like there's nothing we can do about it. But the more people start to research themselves, start to research the storylines outside of what's comfortable for them, what's comfortable for, like what they can say to their friends or whatever. Something different. Once you lock yourself into the new age, then you only want to hear new age information. Once you lock yourself into politics, then you only want to hear about politics. Once you lock yourself into whatever kind of dynamic, that storyline, you only focus on that. That's not a growth process. That's another control grid that you've set up for yourself. And then you have to actually block information. You have to keep information from coming in order to keep that layer of comfort for yourself. And while you are comfortable in that space and not expanding and looking further, then the parasitic program is allowed to expand on its own. Free thinkers are those who are willing to use their minds without prejudice and without fearing to understand things that clash with their own customs, privileges, or beliefs. This state of mind is not common, but is essential for right thinking. Where it is absent, discussion is apt to become worse than useless. Leo Tolstoy. We've been locked into this dormant state of being, fighting on the shallow layers not really understanding what's really going on here, getting caught up in our feelings and emotions, playing the victimization role. Oh, I'm just doing this. What the fuck you mean you're just doing this? No, you're not just doing this. Here's one way you're not just doing this. This is what you're also doing. Oh, I'm not doing that. I didn't mean that. You don't have to mean it to actually do it. And that's what's happening. And as long as the people keep playing that card, then that's just that emotional reactionary program. And then other people just find it necessary to play the other side of that program. Repeating patterns. Like, that's not true. The fuck it is. People have been saying this stuff forever. Forever. These storylines, these dots have been put out there by people. And it just gets quieted down, filtered out, shut out. Whatever it is, the system will remove it because it's a threat to ignorance, which is evil. Information, not this love and light shit. Love and light is not a threat to ignorance. It's actually an expansion of it, the way it's being used. The ultimate evil is the ignorant space. This is what keeps these castles afloat, keeps the pillars of this destructive program going. Technology, people are in the new age are just trying to expand upon the transhumanism program. Oh yeah, we need to get further in. We need them to release these documents about disclosure so we can start getting in spaceships and flying to Betelgeuse and start flying with our star people in the Pleiades and flying here and flying there. Why the fuck are you worried about flying somewhere else and you haven't even done what you need to do here? That's not love and light. That's ignorance. Talk about oneness and all this shit. You can't have oneness with an asterisk. Know what the fuck happened here. Figure it out on your own. Start asking these questions. Look further than the Columbian era in your history books. Start figuring out what happened, what's going and still happening. The colonial program is part of this system. It is at the foundation of this system. The history beyond that is vibrant, ridiculously vibrant. Everybody is connected. These storylines go further than what your little 1492 and Pledge of Allegiance and all that shit storyline is telling you. Find this shit out in so many different ways. Look this stuff up and start piecing it together. The more people that start piecing it together, the better off everybody else is. That's basically all I wanted to do with this video. So thank you for joining me. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.